This is
Hello,
very different
everyone,
for
and
me.
welcome. Yeah, why you need Teams, boost collaboration. Teams is a very exciting technology, and we're here to kind of just jazz it up and make sure that you have the tools you need to know what it is, what's required into thinking about the technology and how it fits in your organization, how to secure it, and furthermore how to get started. So, with that, Tim, let's rock.
This is normally where I'm logging back into the presentation and freaking out because my session
Yes,
crashed.
that's true. Yeah, last time it did
This
crash.
is a different
Not this
start for
time.
me.
Go to meeting didn't fail us this time.
Yes. So high level agenda. There's a lot to talk about. We've done turned this into a 4-part series, so I could spend an hour on each one of these. That's not today though. So we're going to jump right in with a poll just to kind of gauge where people are at with their implementation of Teams today. So
Always interesting to see this. I think the poll got out there today, and we won't vote, but um, always interesting to see, where Teams is at from an adoption perspective. Certainly, if you're using it as a voice system, you're using it organizationally, right? Because it's your voice. But if you're using it for a little project management, maybe within IT or something, then you get department level usage.
all right.
Always interesting to see the results. Organizational level usage, greater than 50%. A little bit of departmental usage and some IT piloting. So we've got some, and then obviously some with no usage or 20% with no usage. So, there's some growth for it as a product, and hopefully we can give you some ideas today for those that are already using it, and for those that aren't, kind of let you know kind of where the secret sauce and easiest use cases might be.
So to start with, just want to mention that for us at Peters and Associates, our journey to Teams came from Skype. So just to make everybody aware that Skype is going away. It's just over a year. And so that kind of ties in because some of the features of Skype show up in Teams, but it's a lot more. So just kind of help frame our discussion a little bit. Not much to say there. So
yeah, gives you an end date if you are on Skype, and certainly some people just enjoy the IM benefits maybe of IM and presence of Skype, which is a new communication mechanism, right, for organizations that don't have some sort of organizational chat. But Teams kind of takes to the next level and really makes it a lot better, in my opinion. And we'll show some of those ways of what we used to do and what we're doing now for those that might be on Skype today.
So if you're not familiar, at a high level, Teams incorporates a lot of tools in its tool belt. So it's chat, it's collaboration, it brings in all the Office 365 applications. It can be your meeting platform, video conferencing, your phone system, and all of those same features are available in the mobile platform. So a very powerful tool, a ton of detail in all of these areas.
And if you were to tie this in, if you were to look industry-wise as to where this fits, I mean, it's a competitor with itself of Skype, right? Microsoft's own Skype product. From the Collaborate perspective, it's a competitor with Slack and other things where there's documents and collaboration. It can be a project management. It could compete probably with their own. Microsoft has the planner capability within there, but it compete with Microsoft Project implementation. It can be a center piece with it has SharePoint on the underside, but it can compete with itself in SharePoint space. So ironically, it's really an aggregator of a lot of technologies more than it's and it competes fiercely, I think, in a lot of the spaces where people might have individual tool sets.
So the first area just want to spend a minute on is chat. So the biggest difference between, I think, traditional chat applications is the fact that Teams is persistent. So you grabbed a screenshot here of a conversation between Bruce and myself that dates all the way back to September. And that's not something you get in other platforms, and certainly not with Skype. Once you hit the little X, right, and you close that window, sometimes it may get archived into your email, but you can't just go back into that conversation and scroll back through and see, what were we talking about a month ago, 6 months ago. So it's a very useful tool. It's all searchable also. So it can be used in a bunch of different ways. That in a team setting with multiple people, if someone was missing from that conversation, they can go back and they can review what was chatted about and get caught up to speed.
Yeah, Skype had this additional feature called persistent chat where you had to put an on-prem server and back the thing up and do a whole number of things to get what Teams has naturally.
So meetings, this slide I just kind of wanted to highlight, Outlook is good for maybe scheduling a meeting. Skype had some more advanced meeting capabilities, and I was kind of reviewing this when I was getting ready for this meeting. I'm like, well, Teams fills in all the holes, and that's really what this represents. So you have that immediacy, you have that persistence, so it just kind of checks all the boxes in terms of collaboration and meeting. So you can do some of the parts with other pieces, but you can do everything in Teams.
Yep.
Enough said. So taking meetings to the next level, you get to rooms. So back in the office, if we ever get back there, we have a real nice conference room. We have this set up with 2 displays. And the neat thing about that is you can have the content on one display and you can have the people on the other. And so it really makes that meeting experience interactive. You can see who's talking, but you don't have to switch between the person and the content. So kind of a neat experience. This was an actual meeting I was in. I'm sure they're not happy with my timing here, but just, people choose to share video or not. You can do background blur, just some of the more advanced features that are in Teams that they're continuing to develop. And you can take that down even to a smaller level. So in this, picture here, there's a TV with a camera and then a little device that is allowing you to turn, this simple room with 2 people into a meeting room.
In terms of features that are continuing to develop, obviously, Tim, they're coming out with the 3x3 video. Right there, you're seeing 2x2. They're coming up with the hand-raising features and several others as part of this more modern experience that they're rolling out here in late May.
So we use Skype as our phone system, and we moved it over to Teams, the phone system. Basically, anything you want a phone system to do, it can do. But you don't have to leave your chat app or your collaboration app to go make a call. You just click on the right application and now you're making a phone call. So it was a pretty straightforward move for us. If you just want to get your phone numbers right for Microsoft, it's even easier. I was able to do it in our demo tenant in like 10 minutes, provision phone numbers and assign them to users, and I'm making calls. So very mature at this point, and it's just a great platform.
Furthermore, you get to move a lot of the pieces and parts that you might have relied on before, such as gateways or session border controllers, even your PRIs or SIP lines that you have coming in. If you have the risk appetite, you can move those off and put that risk on Microsoft, right, for them to run a 99.9% SLA backed phone service effectively. And so Peters and Associates as an organization has a fixed fee deployment for people to move to Teams as a phone system. It obviously includes, in many cases for smaller organizations, they need sort of the basics. If there's an advanced deployment needed, things where there's integration with third-party recording systems or with an on-prem Skype or something of that nature, those are not part of that, but our basic implementation is fixed fee, and we feel it's a low risk and wise way to go at this point, especially with a lot of remote workers.
So just emphasize again, all of those features are available across all platforms. So the iOS devices, Android, and then within those applications, you have all the same features. So you have chat, it's secure, you have access to apps. It just really makes your productivity go up, having all that capability right in the palm of your hand.
Furthermore, Tim, it's available on all browsers too. And I think when you are demoing later, you'll show,
Yep.
the browser experience, the mobile experience, and the PC or Mac experience are all so similar that from a learning curve perspective, you learn it once and you kind of know and experience it the same across all platforms and browsers.
So kind of summarizing, right? This is a little marketing from Microsoft. Teams is a hub for teamwork. Right, it's a communication platform for chatting and meeting and calling. It ties in all of the Office 365 applications. So you can use Word and Excel, collaborate in real time. I'm going the wrong way. And then there's the third-party applications. So I was reviewing this earlier and I'm like, oh, there's 400 third-party apps. And then I looked, there are 500 third-party apps. So if you are working with a third party, there's a real high probability that that third party will have an app that you can tie into Teams, and it just lets you interact with information that you already have, and it's keeping you in that one location.
And I think part of what we have discovered is that Office 365, I guess, in the day where I was keeping up with every change that was occurring within Office 365, not only did the changes get so dramatic, but they have developed a significant number of applications within there, whether it be Stream or Planner, and Planner's giving way now to tasks and things of that nature. Rather than training people on all these new items, Teams is basically the Office 365 app. It is the centralized, they call it the hub for teamwork, but it is the single app that is the pull-in for all the other areas, so that you don't have to learn Stream. You just have to know that my video plays after a meeting right in my chat. It happens to be Stream under the hood, but it kind of doesn't matter. For Planner, you just kind of go over here and here's my tasks I have laid out, and oh yeah, these are the tasks. So it kind of just makes it that you have to know Teams, and there are other spokes of the wheel, but they don't really matter. That's really what it comes down to.
So this is just kind of outlining our interaction with Teams, as an MSP. We've done envisioning readiness for several customers. We're really getting into the governance piece. If you don't have governance when you start, it's really hard to go back and stop that wheel once it started rolling. So
tell that to any organization that's got a couple hundred team sites already deployed, and they're like, how do we start paring that back? Why does everybody have the ability to create a site?
Yeah, I don't like the way we've named these, right? Yeah. It's very hard to go back and undo that.
Yeah, just train everybody on what the new names are.
Yeah. So just some high level areas where, we can get involved with the organization. We'll touch more on that later. So just a few more numbers around Teams. So back in January, 20 million, March 44, May 75. So it's been doubling every couple months. It's just not only from COVID, but it was headed in that direction before. So it's
yeah, they were at 14 million back, I think, in November or something like that. So through natural before pre-COVID, if you will, it had some natural growth going. And again, those are active uses, not licensing, right? From a licensing perspective, a lot more people own it, partially because it's part of the Office 365 suite. So,
yep. So we put this presentation together. We were kind of talking about, right, how do we talk about all the different things you can do with Teams, and we kind of came up with some framing questions. And I really like the graphic that I found that went with this question, because it's a real thing, right? People in different generations communicate in different ways, and how do you accommodate that? And Teams is a platform that will help with that. It used to be you would write a letter and you would talk to someone person to person. And then as technology influenced everything, right? It was phone calls, then email, then text messages. People prefer to communicate through social media, which I don't understand, but they do. And now everybody has a device, and that's their preferred method of communication. So how do you take people that are in these different lanes and get them right on the same page? And because Teams has the ability to do all these things in one application, it really helps solve that problem.
Tim, I'm just glad you're not presenting all of this from your mobile device.
That's coming. Now it's Bruce's question.
So how do teams collaborate on files? It's not that complicated, but in general, most people are using file servers, right? And they got their G drive for group stuff. Maybe they have a Y drive for their personal data, and they certainly send a lot of stuff by email, right? Here's an attachment, edit it and send it back, right? And that's just, so email and file servers. Then because they had a need to share larger files or because they wanted to be more modern about it, sometimes end users, occasionally IT, would light up some cloud services for that. Box, Dropbox, Google Drive. Sometimes it had some governance around it. Sometimes it was organizationally, sponsored. Other times it was just end user runaround, or what they called shadow IT. But a lot of that was being used. Certainly, some organizations went down the SharePoint path, lit up some formalized sites, intranets, extranets, things to have some document repositories and possibly some shares. And hopefully nobody leveraged any USB keys for file sharing, but these are all methods for file sharing. And certainly some of them go from, the basics, everybody has it, email and file servers, to, hey, wait, I'm a small organization and we share files a little bit on that file server, but really we're all at home now, or we're heading to all home, right? I got a new server refresh and I'd rather not have to refresh that server if I don't have to. There's a lot of that going on in smaller organizations. Or how do we modernize file sharing? What's better about putting a file on a SharePoint site or a Teams or OneDrive than trying to put it on a file server? I can give you about 50 reasons why it's better under Teams, SharePoint, or OneDrive than on a file server. Browser access, remote accessibility, ability to get on a mobile device, versioning, when did you want me to stop, right? I can literally run down a list of a number of those. But that said, Teams is becoming a good spot for where to collaborate on files.
So I'm sure everyone has been asked this question recently, and this has been heightened with COVID and working from home. And the solution could be any one of these, right? Take your pick. It could be one, two, or several. So
I'm gonna raise it. Oh yeah, meetings and calling, or even you could say remote access too. Like we do RDP, right, to get into our servers too. So calling, meeting, remote access, all of these are challenges that have surfaced significantly in the last 2 months here.
So just want to advertise the fact that Teams meets this need. It does a great job of it. It's secure. It's reliable. They've got a infrastructure behind it that makes the experience top notch. So they've partnered with your internet providers so that when you initiate a call, it goes right to a Microsoft source. It doesn't hop around the internet on its way there. So the call quality is great. The experience is reliable. So
I know of two clients recently that have hosted meetings with 200 plus people. There were some concerns going in as to whether, was this going to scale properly up to, I think 250 is their max. Is this going to scale up to 250? Yep, should. And sure enough, they had a great experience with 250 users. So yeah, it's, but walking through and determining, what are the governance aspects of your conferencing solution, who can set them up, who can join, is the communication transferable, who can record, things of that nature are all part of the security aspects and governance part of conferencing. So Tim, you've got a question here for the audience.
Yes. So if Sam can fire that one up. You know, and it's been in the news a lot lately that Zoom has had some security issues. And when I first heard about that, you know, my kids are using Zoom for school. I'm like, okay, that's probably okay. What are they sharing? Is it anything important? And then my thought was, you know, if I was in a business and I was having a meeting around sensitive information, you know, would I want to use a platform where someone could jump on that call and hear our conversation? So I would be very leery of using a tool that I wasn't sure was secure. And people are forced into those situations now. They have to do something. You just want to make sure you're using the right tool.
I think a big aspect of it too, you know, while Samantha's closing the poll and we can look at the results, but I think a big aspect of it too is privacy, and privacy is the currency today of today's security world. And from a privacy perspective, Microsoft's got a pretty long and rich history in the privacy market. So a good feeling with regards to conferencing solutions. A lot of people may be leveraging either point solutions, or they might be leveraging Microsoft Teams for a lot of what they're doing today. So good news on that. Certainly, we have some blogs that are available on Zoom security and privacy, and further thoughts on that matter out on our website.
So we'll do a demo here in a minute. Just wanted to kind of set the stage. If you haven't used Teams, even if you have, you know, I had to look this stuff up several times before I was comfortable.
I still
with
use the wrong words, yeah.
with all the lingo. So the app bar, right, is this area over here where your applications are. So that's where your chat shows up, your calling shows up, the Teams sites show up. When you go into Teams, these are Teams sites. And then within a Teams site, you have channels. And then within a channel, you have tabs. That's kind of some of the basic lingo really around Teams and channels and tabs. So I'm going to jump out of the PowerPoint and just show you a little bit of what you can do with Teams. I could spend hours showing all the capabilities here. So we'll do a little chat. I'll show you a little voice, some calendaring, and then just some a little bit on collaboration. So.
And then we'll dive into some use cases and let you hypothesize how, you know, this can be used in your environment. But, you know, let's start with the basics here with just some chat and messaging and kind of look what that looks like.
So what I want to just explain what you're seeing here is I have my cell phone with the Teams client pulled up, and I have Lee logged in there. And then I have another, who do I have? I have Grady logged in via the web. So this is a web browser. And then I have my admin account, Super Tim, logged in via the desktop. And so with this, I can do things like I can chat. So I started a chat earlier between Lee and Grady. Can you meet this afternoon? Sure. And so when I send it from the browser, it'll come over here to my cell phone. So I'm, right, it doesn't matter what platform I'm using, the experience is universal. I could take that a step further. And so now, one of the neat things about Teams is anywhere you see someone, you can click and get their card, and I could initiate a call. So I can make a call from a web browser. So make sure I mute. I did it backward. So what I did for the demo was I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so it doesn't ring. But I can come back, I see I missed the call, so I'll return the call. And now I will see the web browser pops up that I'm getting a call. So I can answer the call, make sure I mute. And so I've got a call going on between my cell phone and a user logged into a web browser.
It's important to note this is a voice, I'll call it, it's a chat using voice, right? So there's no public switch telephone network or PSTN network involved here. This is the device-to-device, internet-connected devices, if you will. So this would be more along the lines of a Skype type, your Skype pedigree with regards to that. So you're getting a great digital experience from any device to any device anywhere. No phone lines involved, no toll circuits or anything of that nature, just device to device. And now the problem is, everyone needs a phone, right? There's still a need potentially to dial digits, potentially to receive an 800 number or other, to your phone number. And so that's when teams can have additional licensing and also have access to and through the PSTN service additional to this. But know that this is out-of-box functionality that's available to all devices.
So just a little bit more on some of the features under calling. You have your contacts, your calling history, voicemail. It's all searchable. So if someone leaves you a message, it gets transcribed and you can read the message. You don't have to listen to it. Making a call is simply just type the number in the box, or you go to one of your contacts like I showed you before and just click on their card and click the phone icon. So very basic, very straightforward. It's a phone system.
It's worth noting voicemail used to be part of your Exchange licensing and even potentially part of your Exchange infrastructure in terms of where that was housed. Now with Teams, it's actually part of the Teams licensing for voice, as well as part of that infrastructure. So you get to kind of not worry about it as much, and it's just there. And works as you had experienced in the past with regards to translating voices back to text and things of that nature, searchable.
So a couple things on the calendar, just want to show you real quick. If you just want to have a real quick conference with someone, video or audio, you can just click this Meet Now button, and it's going to fire up a meeting, and then you can just come over to the people area and invite someone. So if I wanted to invite Lee to the meeting, I could just click on him, and now it's going to initiate that call to him. But he's on Do Not Ring, so it's not going to happen. But that simple, you have a meeting going, or you can go back in and schedule a meeting. And I actually prefer to schedule my meetings now from Teams. And one particular reason, because we'll do a demo meeting. We'll invite Lee and we'll do Brady, because Teams will automatically suggest times that people are available to meet. So you can use a scheduling assistant in Outlook and look at calendars and do all that, but I don't have to do any of that. I just pick the people I want to meet in the day, and it will automatically show me times that people are available to meet. And you can do other things like adding a channel. So you can go into a Teams site and pick a channel so that a record of that meeting is recorded in that location. So if he wasn't available, but we had the meeting anyway, then they could go back and look at the chats that were happening or any files that were shared. They would all be stored in that channel. So
that might really make you think like projects, right? Like, hey, as part of this project, we met as a team, but one of our members couldn't be there, but at least that record is still there, as Tim was mentioning, and you can kind of keep it aligned with that channel.
So some of the basic features, I just want to spend a minute on the Teams sites themselves. We have a whole hour that we could spend on use cases. So
in fact, we do.
Yes, we do. I just want to start with what I found was one of the simplest ways to implement a team site, and that's a two-person team. So it's an executive and their assistant. And they're using posts here to just stay on the same page, so it's kind of that persistent chat. They're sharing files in a dedicated location, so it's not on my drive or your drive, it's a shared location. So we're working on some presentations. We've got a budget we're working on. We created a shared notebook, and this is a OneNote notebook. And so I could take notes. If I was in a meeting, you would have access to them. And then I did a tab where I put a spreadsheet in a tab, so that under the Files tab, you saw there was an Excel spreadsheet. Well, here it is, and now we can interact with this spreadsheet in real time. We're co-authoring. We're both on the same page. We both know what's going on. So just a very simple way to collaborate and get people on the same page and get teams implemented in your organization. You know, you start small and then the ball starts rolling and people get ideas, and then you get into some of these other areas. So just wanted to show that one real quick.
And notice how we just navigated amongst 3 apps, right? Excel, we got OneNote and another. Could be some third-party apps potentially too, and yet they're all presented within the Teams interface. So the learning curve was relatively low. It's just essentially a number of tabs relative to the team and their needs. So
I'm going to jump back into the presentation and talk about some of those use cases. So the first one we had was a business process review, and it could be anything. The one example I shared is we redid our website. And so Bruce can tell you how many pages they reviewed, but they created, right, tasks so that individual people were assigned to review them, and then it moved along the approval process, and that was all in a Teams site using Planner.
Yeah, but this also could be, every organization seems like has a proposal review. So, at the simplest could be something as easy as a proposal review, which today you might think, well, I create the proposal and I send it to 3 people and they modify it and they send it back, or we try to use the G drive and, but only one person can be in the drive at the same time. I mean, this is a formalized, workflow, structured approach to getting the document or series of documents ready.
So the next one is an annual event. And I think this makes a lot of sense because you can put a lot of different information in one location. And you're only going to use that once a year. So you can create polls. So I want to know, what's the theme going to be for this year's event, or what kind of food do we want to serve? And you'll have a reference then for next year when you go back and revisit it. So instead of sending out emails and then, okay, what did we do last year? I got to go look through my email. Where did we put those files? There's pictures of the events or how we had it all set up. All that stuff can be contained in one Teams site. And then you can just create a new folder with the next year, reference that material. Great way to just organize something that you're going to do on an annual event. Project management is a no-brainer. It's designed for this. It has the ability to assign tasks to people. It's a place to put shared documents. So actually, it's the next use case, extranet. So what I did here was, because we're a managed services provider, we have some customers that we do a lot of work for. I created some team sites, and we have a calendar of when engineers are going to be on site. And then we have an area for projects that we're currently working on. So we can put our notes in there. They can see what the project is, who's working on it, what's being done. We do monthly reports for different tools for SIM and other things. Those used to go to email. Now they get emailed to the team site and they get filed away in a folder. So it's just easy to go back and reference those things. The executive and admin assistant, we just talked about that one. Tomorrow, we'll be revisiting this one. A ton of different ways you can use Teams for training. So we've partnered with a company called Clip Training, and they have an application now that works with Teams. And, part of this whole process is that adoption and implementation. So you want to make sure people are comfortable with the tool, they know how to use it. If they have a question, they can find an answer. And you want to be able to monitor their progress and see, what they're doing and if they need help.
Yeah, quick plug on that. So Tim, tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we'll be discussing remote employees and training and productivity. And we'll be discussing some tools and some great methodologies, we think, over half an hour with regards to a tool that we have in place to help move them from position A to B, even while they're remote, would be ideal, and but certainly as a long-term training tool also.
So next one is marketing. We put product sell sheets, calendars. So just a centralized location to store all that information. Everybody has some kind of marketing. They want a place to put that material and share it out. And then we've done a lot of work in SharePoint around human resources. Can't remember what we call it anymore, but we're reworking that into a Teams site. So to bring some of those tools that every human resources department needs into one location. It's attendance and forms and
employee self-service is what we're really calling it. I mean, you think about your onboarding, offboarding, your forms where people need to fill out, the vacation requests, all of those things that really allow an organization to bring an employee in smoothly. Again, to your earlier slide, Tim, a lot of them are customized to, they're not accustomed to paper, right? They would like to do some things on their phone or digital device to onboard, and so presenting yourselves in a great way, right? That's paperless and trackable and searchable, and meets all of your HR requirements. It's kind of a logical thing.
So I mentioned some of this earlier. So I think Teams just had their 3rd year anniversary, and so since they've launched, they've added 64 features. They've got 11 rolling out and 42 in development. So it's continuing to evolve and get better. And then here's that 521 third-party applications. So I've done this slide 2 or 3 times now, and each time I have to go back and update these 2 numbers.
And furthermore, that kind of speaks to the adoption portion, which, Teams can be a one-time rollout, and you should train and make sure that people get over the hump and comfortable with leveraging the technology. That said, there is an ongoing effort that could be envisioned in terms of new changes going on, this 3x3 format that we just talked about, the ability to handle meeting, how do you do hand raising, things of that nature. So whether it be Teams or other technologies, adoption and continuous cycles of small training and notifications about what's coming and evaluation of what's coming and maybe even piloting what's coming, all of that is under adoption services, which is an area that we've actively been going after.
So just another plug for Microsoft and where it plays in the field. So in the Magic Quadrant for unified communications, it just works. I've never had a bad call or never had a chat that didn't go through. So I think it's a testament to the investment and their ability to just build a great product. So just a plug. But it's no good if you don't govern it.
Yeah, we mentioned some of these that that could become problematic for you. Team sprawl will get you too many sites, right? Not having the right owners or creators means the wrong people are seeing your information. What's your mobile experience look like, and do you want that data to be pulled out of Teams and put into Dropbox? No, I want to keep it channeled there. Having expiration dates on your data. What data is allowed to sync to what devices? What's your naming convention? How does guest access work, and how do I provide that guest access for either a predefined time period or a review, things of that nature. So these are just a few of the governance areas that you would want to review as part of your as part of a discussion upon design.
So what I did was I took this slide and then I went and I created another slide and kind of matched up some of the tools that you have that will let you accomplish those things. So the ability to archive a site, make it read-only. E-discovery, these are tools that are built into Office 365. Adding a moderator to a team site to control some of the information. There, 500 third-party apps. Who's determining which ones are allowed or not? Data loss prevention, ATP, advanced threat protection. So you could spend time on each one of these and develop your governance for your team site. So it's a very important piece that you have to consider before you just, turn it on and let people start creating sites, and then you find out, oops, we're sharing information that we did not intend to.
And that's part of our normal course and cycle of our projects when we're implementing teams within an organization.
Which is, I'll bring this back up again. We mentioned it earlier. That was governance is one part of the wheel here. And I think, to get people started, what we would like to do is help you with your envisioning and readiness. So it can be, sitting down with a group of people, providing a demo. We did one the other day. I thought it was going to be 3 to 5 people. It turned out to be, 50 to 60 people.
Yes.
And we walked through use cases and features and functionality. And, from that discussion, they found a few people that had some specific uses that they wanted to work on. And we worked through then, some design discussion, which features you want to have. Do you need to have third-party apps or not? Do you need guest access? So asking some of those questions. And then having that discussion around readiness, because it's an easy enough thing to get turned on, but you want to make sure that your rollout is successful. Right now, when people are working remotely, the experience is going to be very different than if they're all back in the office. So I'm sharing my video from my home, and there's one of me, but if I was in the office and there were 50 of us doing this, what would that experience be like? So do you have, the bandwidth that you need to pull that off? So these are just all the pieces we can provide to work with you to, do the envisioning, to look at your environment and provide an outcome to get you started on this.
Yeah, because there's so many things that can be done by so many people within your organization. The goal is just to focus, right? And to design what can be successfully done in what period, make sure that your site is ready, make sure that you have, what success looks like, make sure that there's some governance and controls in there, and then you're off and moving. Go obtain success, rinse and repeat, right? And get ready for the next group and the next use case and the next maybe department that comes along with a goal and a need. And maybe with a few tweaks on the governance, right, as to who now can create new sites, right? Now you might have a new creator, so there's a new training circle that might go around, people that are leveraging teams versus people that are creating and administering teams. So we kind of see those pockets developing. What we're not seeing is, mobile versus, in-house worker, right? Because the experiences are quite similar across all, but Teams client readiness and making sure that your PCs, Macs, mobile devices all have the Teams client on it and so forth. So the envisioning and readiness is certainly one call to action that we would put out there. This is it's a low fee obligation, and in some organizations where there's qualification, it may be fully funded from Microsoft.
So I think we had 45 minutes scheduled. We're at 44. So just what else is coming? Like we mentioned earlier, I guess there's a weekly workshop.
We've got one tomorrow. Yeah, we've got one 5/13. We have it each week, right? So every Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we've been doing a weekly workshop for remote employees, and we try to brainstorm what topic we feel is the most critical to next discuss. Last week was on DNS filtering and security for remote employees, one of the tools we feel is extremely important. This week is on training and on remote productivity. All right, keeping the saws sharp for our employees, making sure that you're still prepared to deliver IT projects with a underlying capability to raise the bar a little bit for your employees, and then also track and measure and make sure that they're continuing to learn and keep the saw sharp relative to Office 365 technologies, Windows 10 technologies. And then obviously at the end of the month, we have the 5/26. I'll be conducting a 30-minute this month in cyber, as we've done for the last 5 years, every month. And that will be on ways to protect the small and medium businesses from everyday stories that we're going to kind of recap that have occurred in the month of May.